Hey, I'm Blair Best. It's Wednesday here on The Story, and tonight, an update to public safety changes at Multnomah County's Central Library downtown. What is and what notably is not being done. Plus, how the federal government is turning its attention to Oregon's foster care policy, requiring foster parents to support LGBTQ kids in their care. How this ties back to a case we've followed for years. But first, President Trump calling Portland a never-ending disaster today. As we learn more about the National Guard's upcoming mission, we also hear from those who support the troops coming to town. It's our big story tonight. And we begin tonight with Kyle Boshi live at the ICE building in South Portland. Kyle, give us an update. What's going on there right now?
This evening, things are relatively calm. There are about 10 to maybe 12 peaceful protesters out here. Occasionally, we've seen federal agents up on the roof or behind the fence, but certainly no clashes between the two this evening. Just for a little background, since ICE relocated to this office in South Waterfront in 2011, there have been occasional demonstrations, some large scale, including the Occupy ICE demonstration in 2018, but certainly nothing that triggered a response from the National Guard.
Okay, and what is the latest on when Oregon National Guard troops will be deployed here?
So Senator Jeff Merkley briefed the media today on a number of issues, including the deployment. He explained that troops will be training on the coast before being deployed to Portland. Specifically, they'll spend several days at Camp Rylea in Warrenton, working on things like crowd control and use of force. Then they will be deployed. The question is when they will actually be on the streets or protecting federal buildings such as the ICE facility here in Portland. That remains unclear. Things really have changed, though, in the past 24 hours as far as communication is concerned since the U.S. Army's Northern Command took over. Questions about deployment are no longer being answered by state officials. Instead, they're referring the media to the Department of War.
Interesting. Okay, let's talk money. Yesterday, we reported the Oregon Military Department put the cost of paying for this deployment at just under $4 million. But we understand Governor Tina Kotek gave a new estimate this afternoon.
Yeah, a bit of a change. There was testimony before a joint subcommittee yesterday from the Oregon Military Department suggesting it would be $3.8 million to pay for this deployment. Now, that was just base cost. That didn't include a lot of other things. Today, the governor upped that number to $10 million, suggesting it included things like supplies, salaries, housing, etc. So certainly a much larger number.
Okay, Kyle Boshi outside the ICE building in South Portland tonight. Kyle, thank you. And we're hearing from people who live and work in the area who support federal troops coming to Portland. But they want to see them do more than just protect federal property, which is how we understand the Guard's mission right now. I went down to the ICE building today for that side of the story. Wednesday afternoon, a few people staged outside the federal ICE building in South Portland.
I don't feel like today is very much different than the past few days.
Efren and his family.
I was worried, yeah.
Leaving their annual immigration check-in.
So you hear a lot, there's, people going in, they're not coming out. We came in just normal. We're going back home just normal. And, I thank God for it.
Also there Wednesday.
And that's why I came out here.
Pamela Hemphill from Boise, Idaho, also known as MAGA Granny. Pamela is a former Trump supporter who gained national attention for refusing the president's pardon for her role in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Instead, she pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge and spent 60 days in federal prison.
Legally.
She's now come to Portland to observe what's happening outside the ICE building.
Yeah, this is my amends to forever being there that day. And, you don't know all the disinformation at the time. So I thought maybe there's another Pam like me. Maybe I can get to her and help her.
On Truth Social Wednesday, President Trump said of Oregon that conditions continue to deteriorate into lawless mayhem and that the National Guard is now in place. He went on to say the governor of Oregon must be living in a dream world and that Portland is a never-ending disaster. He then likened the city to being run like a, quote, third world country. A Department of Homeland Security spokesperson tells KGW Tuesday night, 6 people were arrested outside the Portland ICE building, some accused of assaulting law enforcement, leading to one federal officer being sent to the hospital, per DHS. Ursa was there.
They dove into the alcove where we were sitting, assaulted several of us. They tackled me.
Over the weekend, the president mobilized 200 National Guard troops to be in Portland for a 60-day mission.
I kind of support it 110% just because I would like to see them clean up the city of Portland.
Dan Franick lives in North Portland.
So it's our understanding that when National Guard troops arrive, they'll just be protecting federal property and personnel.
That could be the case.
Dan says he would support the troops doing more than that, like cleaning up trash and helping address homelessness.
If they're going to be down there during the day, what else are they going to do? At least they can do something to help our city of Portland.
I don't think it's the best way to address it, but it may be the only way if our city and state governments are not willing to do their jobs.
Richard Bjork represents retailers like House of Pipes, a smoke shop chain that has been repeatedly hit by crime.
The last hit, it was approximately $200,000 in both property damage and lost inventory.
Richard would welcome the National Guard stepping in to address crime.
Well, I want to be very clear. Nobody wants to see troops in the street, but naturally, if city governments and police departments are not able to protect people, folks are going to look for protection from anywhere they can get it. And for those people who do not want federal troops in our streets, I would say start clamoring for your local government to protect our property, our businesses, and our lives.
Back at the ICE building, no sign of National Guard troops yet, as state leaders await a judge's decision on their lawsuit against the Trump administration, aimed at blocking the deployment, arguing Trump's action violates multiple federal and constitutional protections. Again, a hearing on that lawsuit is set for 10 o'clock Friday morning in Portland. It's not clear if a ruling will be made on Friday or if it will just be arguments from both sides. We'll keep you posted. Today, Portland City Council President Ilana Pertolgini releasing a statement saying in part, this action will pit Oregon National Guard members against fellow Oregonians in an unnecessary and likely illegal political stunt. I'm deeply alarmed by this decision. President Trump's bold mischaracterization of Portland is dangerous and unfounded. The reality is Portland is safe and thriving. However, none of that matters to our president. He is happy to get in the way of all the incredible progress we have made. As your council president, I will not let this absurd action by our federal government derail the work of our city. We're also getting a look at a memo sent to Oregon National Guard members on Monday from the man who is normally in charge of the state's guard, though he is not in command this time around due to the troops being under federal control. Brigadier General Alan Gronwald talks about the task ahead, writing, I know some of you may have strong feelings about this mission. That's okay. You are citizens first, but you're also service members who took an oath to support and defend the Constitution and follow the orders of the president and the governor. That oath does not come with an asterisk that says only when I agree with the mission. We don't get to pick and choose. He later wrote, I'll be honest with you. I know this isn't easy. Some people in Oregon won't understand or won't support this mission. Some might even be hostile about it. But we've been through tough situations before. We are professionals who do our duties regardless of how it's received. You can read the full letter on our website, kgw.com. Okay, today is day one of a federal government shutdown after the Senate failed to pass 2 government funding bills. Now, this impacts people across the country, including millions in the federal workforce and people who rely on government services. Some federal agencies have deemed certain services and employees essential, which means Social Security payments will continue. Air traffic controllers and TSA employees will keep flights moving, but they won't be paid. And veterans can continue to receive medical and critical care through the Department of Veterans Affairs. Now, thousands of federal workers living in the Northwest now bracing for furloughs or working without pay. The main sticking point in Congress is health care. Democrats want to reverse Medicaid cuts and stop enhanced Obamacare subsidies from expiring.
What we do know is how Oregonians are going to be hurt by the projected 68% increase when they sign back up for insurance in November on the exchange.
But Republicans say Democrats are to blame for the standoff, accusing them of refusing to compromise. We reached out to Oregon's only Republican in Congress, Representative Cliff Bentz. He didn't answer. But we did hear from a professor of economics at the University of Portland. He said families and small businesses who rely on federal programs will be hurt if the government stays closed. The last major shutdown cost the U.S. economy billions.
In the past experience, like a few years ago, we had another shutdown that amounted to over $10 billion.
Now, to be clear, this shutdown does not impact the National Guard's mission in Portland. And we're taking a deeper dive into the shutdown and what it means for you tonight at 7:30 on our free TV app, KGW+. From the impact to air travel, food assistance programs, and government services, to national parks and much more. We have reaction from around the country, plus expert insight. Again, that's tonight at 7:30 on demand and on KGW+. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is now investigating Oregon's Department of Human Services over its policy requiring foster parents to support LGBTQ kids in their care. The Federal Administration for Children and Families sent this letter to the department yesterday. They seemingly made reference to a case that we've been covering for several years here on The Story. Jessica Bates, a single mom from Malheur County, wanted to become a foster parent and eventually adopt 2 siblings. But her foster parent certification was denied when she told DHS she could not support things like gender-affirming care or using a child's chosen pronouns because of her Christian beliefs. She sued the state, claiming they were violating her free speech and freedom of religion rights. Now, at first, a judge ruled against her, but after the case was appealed, a different judge ruled that she should be allowed to continue the certification process. Back in July, she told us she still planned on getting certified as a foster parent and that she would not allow a child to express a different gender identity.
Just like my biologicals, I probably will not allow them to do any permanent, any hormone injections, anything that's going to rob them of their God-given body and everything that they can't fix later. That's can't take it back, like girls getting a deep voice and those sorts of things, and your fertility, those sorts of things. I wouldn't allow them to probably, and when they're 18 and they're adults, they're free.
Bates' lawsuit is still being adjudicated at the district level, but the Administration for Children and Families calls the initial denial of Bates as a foster parent deeply troubling. Now, in the letter to DHS, they wrote, "No child is made safer when the state shuns willing, stable, and loving homes. No child is better off when hyper-partisan policies are placed above permanency and what is best for the child." They also told us, with a national shortage of loving, safe, appropriate foster families, states cannot afford to turn away religious foster parents, a group that is twice as likely to foster and adopt. Faith communities have been and continue to be essential partners in this mission, providing not just homes, but comprehensive support systems for children in need. Now, the acting assistant secretary of the Administration for Children and Families went on with a not-so-veiled threat, writing, "As you know, I have the responsibility of monitoring how federal funds are used and ensuring that federal law is upheld." Now, according to Children's Rights, an advocacy group for kids in the welfare system, about 30% of kids in foster care identify as LGBTQ, and they face higher rates of abuse in the system. We wanted to ask ACF how they plan to address that, but because of the government shutdown, they didn't respond to our request. The Oregon Department of Human Services says they stand in support of the LGBTQ community, and they're working on their next steps. They wrote, they're reviewing its rules and policies for resource parents and prospective adoptive parents, continuing its commitment to ensuring that all children and young people in foster care, including those who are LGBTQIA2S+, have access to a safe and supportive environment provided by loving caregivers that are responsive to their individual needs. Well, coming up next on The Story, we head back to Multnomah County's Central Library in downtown Portland. for a look at what changes could be coming to help make the library safer. That's in the wake of violence near the library this summer. That's next, when the story returns. Now, one of the more head-scratching decisions recently by City of Portland leadership is being paused after community pushback, and that's the extension of paid parking hours to 10 o'clock at night. That will revert back to 7 p.m. 2 weeks from today, and that's for all of Portland, not just downtown. The 10 o'clock extension was supposed to take effect in Northwest Portland today, but that's been postponed as well. Now, it's worth noting that event district parking enforcement, so like around the Providence Park and the Moda Center, that will remain the same. Mayor Keith Wilson directed PBOT to pause the extended meter enforcement in other parts of the city, writing that it's, quote, necessary to be responsive to current conditions and support evening activities and businesses in central Portland during this critical time during the city's recovery from the pandemic. Okay, that's a sentiment that many of you told us when the enforcement extensions were first announced. Why raise parking fees and extend the hours for paid parking if you want to attract people downtown? The city says PBOT will look at parking data in the coming months and talk with stakeholders in the central city to figure out a way to balance hourly parking fees to both support downtown recovery while at the same time meet budget needs. All right, turning now to the Central Library, where marginal public safety changes are being made in the wake of deadly violence in the area over the summer. Right now, the plan seems to be just adding security officers, stopping short of bringing in metal detectors, at least for now. Joe Ranieri has the story.
Downtown Portland's Central Library is meant to be a place of learning and community, but recent violence and safety concerns have forced leaders to rethink how to keep people safe inside and outside its doors.
The safety and security of our library patrons and our library staff is my #1 priority.
In July, one person was shot and killed outside the library. Then in late August, someone was stabbed right across the street. That victim survived. But these two incidents prompted the county and the director of libraries to make changes.
We are investing in a number of measures to help address our security needs here at Central Library. That includes contracted security, really intensive training for our library staff and our security officers.
Since adding the extra security officers, issues at the library have slowly dropped, according to Multnomah County Director of Libraries, Annie Lewis.
We invest heavily in security. In fact, in our fiscal year 26 budget, we are investing $3.9 million in security costs overall in our library system.
Lewis says they've already added 4 more security officers since July. And another option that's being discussed, metal detectors.
With the information that we have to date, I don't recommend moving forward with metal detectors. However, hearing from our community is really critical.
To stop the rampant drug use that's plagued the library, she also proposed to the Multnomah County Board of Commissioners installing vapor sensors.
We are considering vapor sensors, which is a device that detects illicit substances and can be installed in restrooms. We're very likely moving forward with that. We're in the process right now of doing product demonstrations and gathering information from our facilities team.
If you talk to businesses in the neighborhood,
we would love to have any kind of extra security downtown. I think out of all of my locations, the downtown part here is probably the more, we get a lot more of the drugs and the homeless.
They'll tell you they're just glad that they're seeing something get done. Joe Ranieri, KGW News.
Okay, so again, the only decision that has been made so far is the extra security officers. Those other options are just ideas that could be implemented in the future. Well, coming up next on the story, a major milestone for salmon recovery in Southern Oregon, courtesy of this video taken last week. It's something that hasn't happened in over a century. Plus, we head down to the KGW vault as we remember conservation legend Jane Goodall, who died today at the age of 91. Her contributions here in Oregon when the story returns. A monumental moment in Southern Oregon last week. You're looking at video of a Chinook salmon ascending the fish ladder at the Keno Dam on the upper Klamath River. The first visual confirmation of salmon making it that far upriver since 4 other dams were removed from the Klamath last year. Now, the fish were seen on these ladders last year, but this is the first time they've been seen passing the dam on their way to historic spawning grounds. Last year, more than 500 adult fall Chinook were confirmed to have spawned in areas below the Keno Dam. the first time they've reproduced in Oregon's portion of the Klamath River Basin in over a century. Now, the hope is that they'll spawn above the dam as well. All salmon fishing remains closed on the Oregon side of the Klamath River Basin to allow the salmon to repopulate as fast as possible. Well, there are a few names in the world of conservation and environmental advocacy that loom as large as Jane Goodall, who died today at the age of 91. In a post online, the institute that bears her name said she died of natural causes in California, where she was traveling as part of her U.S. speaking tour. Goodall is most known for her chimpanzee research in Africa back in the 1960s, living among them and documenting behaviors like using tools, which were once thought to be exclusive to humans. Her work transformed how the world perceived our closest living biological relatives. Goodall's impact stretched far beyond her native England, including right here in Oregon. She helped fundraise for the zoo's primate area as early as the 1970s, regularly visiting with the chimpanzees there. The zoo's connection to Goodall continued for decades, even inspiring the designs of the current primate forest habitat, which opened in 2020. Now, Kate Gilmore oversees the zoo's primate area today and told us we are truly saddened to hear of Dr. Goodall's passing and so honored to be among the organizations she worked closely with during her long and incredible career. As a champion for wildlife, she was one of our real heroes, and we will do everything we can to continue her legacy. Well, we also took a trip to the KGW Vault, where we found a segment from our cruise in May of 1980, when Goodall visited what was then called the Washington Park Zoo. Take a look.
In chimp society, and this is quite rare in a lot of the animal societies, any male, whether he's high-ranking, middle-ranking, or low-ranking, even if he has a disability, he is able to sire an infant. And I think it is because of this ability of all the males with all their varied genes to sire infants that we find so much individuality. I mean, one chimp is as different from another chimp as one person is from another person.
Goodall was most recently in Oregon back in April of this year when she visited Lincoln High School downtown, telling the students this.
My main reason for hope, because you're learning about the importance of respecting the environment and respecting each other.
A true titan of environmental advocacy, not just here in the Northwest, but around the world. Jane Goodall will be missed. Well, a somber way to end the show tonight, but thank you for watching. The good stuff is coming your way next. And don't forget, everyone has a story to tell. Have a great Wednesday night. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night at 6:30.